So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our panel entitled Help, I'm an Introvert and I'm Scared of Marketing. My name is Philippa Haynes. I'm the founder of Insight 101 and I help accountants and bookkeepers to stand out. So I'm assuming that if you're here, then you're anxious, uncomfortable, or downright scared about marketing yourself and your business. And if you truly are an introvert, then that is going to be doubly frightening. But do not worry, in the next 30 minutes, we are going to be talking about how you can flex your marketing muscle, how you can feel more confident, how you can convey your core message, and get those relationships really going with your clients and your prospects. So let's start by introducing our panel and talking about why they're actually here, talking about introverts. Over to you, Claire.
Hello, so my name's Claire. I run Loud and Clear Accounting. So for a bit of context, I'm a one-man band. I work part-time hours, actually during the school hours. And I started my business from scratch, so had no clients lined up, no network, didn't even have a website when I first started. And I've managed to grow my business to sort of six-figure turnover without doing any networking or any face-to-face marketing at all. So hopefully I'm here to sort of give a bit more of the practical advice, possibly, of what you can do if you want to avoid people at all costs.
Great stuff. Claire, how are you feeling about being here?
I'm a bit scared. We may find that my phone may be telling me that my heart rate's a bit high at the moment, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Vicki Banthorpe, and I run Momentum for Professionals, which is a marketing consultancy, and I work pretty much with accountants across the UK. I've got over 20 years of marketing experience. For myself, I don't always find marketing easy, so hopefully I can find some sort of shared sort of aspects with you guys. But I've also got some practical tips on what I've seen works for me and actually a lot of my clients when it comes to marketing. And what I've seen over the years is in the accountancy profession is sometimes an approach to be quite aggressive at marketing, and that I find that puts me right off, really, and I find that very uncomfortable. So I'm keen to sort of get across ways to you guys that it doesn't have to be. Marketing isn't a scary thing. You can do it in your own way. So we'll get onto that later.
Hi, I'm Mark Lee, and those of you who know me might think, well, he's a bloody extrovert. What's he doing on the panel? And I have to tell you, when I was younger, I was definitely an extrovert. As I've aged, I feel less of an extrovert. My wife would argue otherwise. But I spend most of my time when I'm not on stage speaking at 1 o'clock tomorrow. When I'm not on stage speaking, I spend most of my time working with sole practitioner accountants, most of whom are probably introverts one way or another. And it's some of their stories and experiences that I will be sharing today. Can I just check before I pass back to Philippa? How far back can you hear us? People right at the back, can you hear us okay? Yeah? Okay, I've been told I should keep the mic closer to my mouth, so I'll do that. There you go.
So thank you very much. So we're going to be talking about a little bit about introversion, obviously a little bit about marketing and what it means and why it's so scary, and then we're going to give you some coping strategies as well. And the reason I'm here is my mission really is to get accountants and bookkeepers to share their story and to deliver their value and to really take on their own light. And stand out doesn't need to be, brash or loud, but it does mean building awareness and showing people your value. Okay, so let's start and talk about what does introversion mean, because I'm sure it's quite a big word. So let's start with Claire and see how you'd explain introversion.
I suppose with being introvert, being on the spectrum, I'm as far to one side as you can possibly get. So incredibly shy. This is the first conference I've been to since 2019. I have a headache. I'm very tired. But I've also got the added thing that I've got autism as well, so I'm quite socially awkward as well. I find having small talk quite hard. I think the fact that I'm a 40-year-old with a Pokemon rucksack, I'm someone that I'm hard to warm to, sort of to begin with. So for me, sort of starting my business from scratch, my knowledge of marketing had been sort of very traditional. So all the firms that I'd worked for previously had marketed their business through networking, sort of local networking with local clients. So I knew when I started my business that I was either going to have to be uncomfortable a lot of the time and find sort of some coping mechanisms, cope with the tiredness, or I was going to have to try and find my own way of sort of doing marketing, which luckily I've been able to do. As I said, I've never been to a networking event before. I haven't done any face-to-face marketing at all. But I would say probably the downside of that is maybe the growth of my business was a little bit slower. If I did the networking, I probably could have Googled networking near me, whereas I had to spend a little bit of time learning a bit more about marketing, finding different types out there, what ones I wanted to do, and stuff like that.
That's great. So from a introversion perspective, we really have got that neurodivergent element here, and I think it's testament that she's actually sitting in a panel talking to quite a few people, having got on the train today as well. But Vicki, who is a marketing person, but obviously you work with a lot of accounting firms, what do they like to work with? Are they introverts? How would you describe them?
From what I've seen, there is a mix, as you would expect, but the adage I use that most of you got into accountancy because you like working with numbers, you like working with people, you wanted to be helpful to your clients. I don't think many of you would have had anywhere on your career spectrum that, I want to get out there and do some marketing and sales because that's what really gives me a buzz. So I think a lot of accountants initially struggle with this concept of, wow, I've got to go out and get new business. And this might be because you've started on your own like Claire has, and then you really are starting from zero and it is down on you. But it might be because you're trying to get promotion in your own firm, and part of that is developing your own client portfolio. But up until that point, you have been sort of almost in the back room doing the back end stuff and not actually meeting clients that often. So that can be a massive step. And I think a lot of partners in practice actually need to understand that when they're trying to bring the younger sort of generations through, that actually what they find very easy, because they've done it for so long, actually can be massively daunting for a lot of people. So any strategies that we can give that helps people understand what marketing is about and how they can tailor it to be working with them, as Claire will give some examples for, and Philippa and I can both give examples for. That's the important thing. Don't just feel that you have to be out there selling, because that's not what it's about. It's about communicating, getting your message across, and actually remembering the key part of accountancy is people buy from people. So if you have a good story to tell, if you get to know people well, they're more likely to come to you for their business, but also their personal sort of taxation and financial needs. You'll be able to cross-sell more stuff from them as well. So it's doing things in bite-sized pieces, I think, in terms of how to overcome that introversion.
That's great, thank you. And Mark, you've obviously, with the Soul Practice Club, spent a long time working with accountants. And are they all introverts? How would you describe your clients, and what do they struggle with? What is introversion from your perspective?
Well, I think probably the biggest factor that I witness when I think of accountants who are introverted, whether they are people I'm working with or not, is it's a lack of self-confidence that they confuse with being introverted. So not all introverts lack self-confidence. Not all people who lack self-confidence are introverts. But I'd say that there's a huge overlap. And one of the ways in which I try and help the accountants that I work with overcome that fear and concern is recognizing that introverts are often better able to win work than extroverts, because introverts will tend to listen more than they speak. And when it comes to securing client commitment to whatever it is, whatever service you're promoting, you're more likely to win them over if they feel that they've been heard and that you've listened to them before you've pitched your services. A lot of introverts feel they've got to copy extroverts and be outwards pushing and promoting themselves. They feel uncomfortable doing it, and my advice is always be yourself. Do what you find is comfortable. And there are plenty of people who will work with introverted accountants who weren't very pushy in terms of how they tried to secure the work that they were after.
Very good. So does everybody identify just a little bit with how we've kind of explained introversion? There are lots of different flavours, aren't there? There is the neurodiversity, there is just being shy. You know, there are there's even a cultural one where people don't just like pushing themselves out. And certainly you always hear, oh, but we're British, we don't like doing that. And I think what Mark said, it's not all about pushing yourself out and doing something that's unnatural to you. It's actually doing what you feel is right. So from my perspective, a lot of my clients come to me and say, actually, I don't know why I'm different. And they struggle to convey what that extra value is. And actually, that's the really important part in marketing, knowing what you're all about, what you do, your core message, your story, so that you can bring your own secret sauce to it. That's what it's all about. Okay, so from a marketing perspective then, why do we think it's scary? What is it that makes it so frightening when, you know, everybody here has got their own clients, they're dealing with numbers, they've got relationships. Vicki, what, from a marketing perspective, what's going through their heads, do you think?
I would say a lot of people wrongly put marketing in the same context as sales, and none of us want to sometimes be seen as being a salesperson, because that's what we feel is quite sort of the aggressive side of things, and we get tongue-tied if we think we've got to go out and get new business and sign up a new client. The way to overcome that is really to look at marketing as being communication. You know, most of you, as Philippa said, have got clients already. You're already communicating with those clients. Many of them will become friends you've got good relationships with. That is what we're trying to do with our marketing, and that's how we can sort of get over if we're shy or we struggle in some sort of face-to-face conversations and that type of thing. Then we look for different ways to get around that. So we, as Mark says, we can still be ourselves, we're still true to ourselves, but actually we can give ourselves little points to overcome that. And I think with marketing, I found I've got some clients, one gentleman up in Yorkshire, in his practice when he was younger, he was told that he had to go to the BNI meetings, which some of you will be familiar with, which are quite sort of referral based, quite sort of in your face, and every week you've got to meet up and refer leads to other people in the group. And he found that hugely overwhelming, didn't like it at all, stopped networking full stop for many years. And I was sort of working with him, and I said, networking still is one of the best ways for accountants to get new work. That and getting referrals, word of mouth, and actually cross-selling. So if you can overcome that issue you've got with face-to-face networking, try it. Now granted, this conversation took place probably 6-7 years ago, before COVID, before the whole Zoom thing took off. But he actually then spent a little bit of time researching local networking groups in his area, and found different groups that actually were more of his type of people. So where he felt comfortable, so he goes every week now, he doesn't feel like he's networking, he's just actually going into a room full of people that he knows much more about, they've got common ground in terms of whether kids go to school, all that sort of thing. But actually he gets business from it because he's been true to himself. Those people say, oh, you need to meet Dan, he's really, really, really good, etc. So he's found his niche by initially being put off with it, thinking, oh God, I can't do that, it's horrendous, to actually finding it's something that does work for him.
So that's all very well if you're happy with face-to-face networking, but if you're like Claire, how do you get over that scary marketing piece? How do you do your marketing without leaving the house since 2019, as you said? A joke, obviously, but you're not into face-to-face marketing. So tell us a bit about that. How do you get over it?
Well, I think when I first started my business, to me, marketing was my logo and my website. I think I remember the day I pressed publish on my website and it was like, I've done marketing now. And I remember even my brain going, but what do I do if I have too many people contact me? And learned very, very quickly that wasn't the case. And then you suddenly realise, okay, well, I've now got to get people to my website. So then you go SEO and blogs and social media. And then you then move on to lead magnets and funnels and all of this kind of stuff, and especially like with an autistic brain, I'm like, I need to learn all of the things.
But that sounds really scary. I mean, we're talking about marketing and people perceiving it to be scary, and I'm sure people here are thinking, my goodness, what's she talking about?
But I think it's then realising that, as everyone's just said, everything you do is marketing. So it could be your LinkedIn profile that wins you a client. It could be how quickly you respond to a DM that wins you a client. And I think once you realise that, you can, instead of thinking I've got to do all of the things, just choose the things that you feel comfortable at. So give it all a go. And if you don't like it, you don't do it. So it doesn't matter how many people tell you if you're you're marketing online, you have to do video. If the idea of doing video is horrific, don't do it, because there are like a billion other things that you can be doing. And I think as soon as I realised that was almost quite freeing, that I could just be like, it doesn't matter how many people are telling me I need a lead magnet and a funnel. I don't know what that is. I don't want to do it. And I just didn't. And then I realised that even though I don't like talking to people in person, I absolutely love chatting to people online, because I can control when I have the conversation. I choose when I log in. I can choose who I talk to. And I've only just started using LinkedIn, and I've realised that you can just walk away from a conversation by just giving people a thumbs up, and you can't do that in real life, and people are fine with it on LinkedIn. And so I found the bit of marketing that I was really comfortable with, which I think is important, because you do need to keep marketing, whether you're getting clients, whether you're at your capacity. So if you can enjoy it and you feel comfortable at it, it will be a lot easier.
I think there are some really important messages coming out, which is do what's comfortable, find your little bit of space. Mark, what would you add in terms of marketing and it being scary?
Well, I think, first of all, just building on what Claire said about LinkedIn, and at the risk of upsetting those who are big fans of posting lots of content and engaging typically with their own echo chamber, I'm a big fan of encouraging people, particularly introverts who might struggle to create content, join other people's conversations. That's likely to be of much more value to you than trying to attract people who don't know who you are. If you go back to your objective with LinkedIn in this context of marketing, it's first of all present yourself so that your profile will have the positive impact you want it to have on whoever you're looking to positively influence, prospective clients. So every element of your profile should be focused on having that positive impact. Then when you engage with people by getting involved in their conversations, and my encouragement, when you do that and they look at your profile, maybe they'll want to connect with you, they'll accept your connection requests. They're more likely to do that if your profile markets you, promotes you effectively. And then you can also then use LinkedIn to search out the people who you'd like to potentially engage with. How much better is that than going to a networking event and hoping to find prospective clients there, most of the people there are also looking for business. So most of the work that most accountants get from networking events, whether BNI or any of the other local groups, is you're building relationships with people who, once they get to know, like and trust you, may refer you on to other people. Of course it's disappointing and you leave a networking event and you didn't win any business, but you went with the mistaken assumption that that was possible. It's not just introverts. All of us, everybody, would love to win work at networking events, but in actually networking events, you network through the room as much as you do with the room. It's about building relationships, and again, introverts are listening more than they're speaking, and you have a greater prospect of building relationships with people than if you're the one who's done all the talking.
Yeah. Fantastic advice. I think what's coming across is really that you need to pick your particular poison. And also with marketing, you don't have to be super confident. If you are quite nervous, if you are pretty quiet, then nobody's going to be expecting you to burst onto the scene and do a TikTok dance or whatever it is, you know. And actually, you will be attracting like. What you really want to do, I talk about niche a lot and people roll their eyes, but what niche really means is try to attract and build awareness with people who are like you, who feel the same as you, they like the same things as you, and they're probably scared of the same things as you. So if you don't like LinkedIn and you find it really quite frightening as a platform, go on Facebook or go on Instagram. There are no rules. You know, this is your marketing, and your marketing is about speaking to other people. It's nothing more than that. So you are looking to attract like with like. So apples with apples and not apples with pears. So don't feel like you've got to be something more than you are. You're enough. And that's really one of the key messages here. Be yourself. So, okay, so everybody's now beginning to feel a little bit more comfortable. We've talked a little bit about introversion, about marketing and why it's scary. So you still may think, well, actually, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to cope with this. What do I do? So from that perspective, what can we recommend? And I'll go to Vicki.
I think there's various things you can do, and everyone will have their own coping strategies. I think Claire said it earlier. One of the things is actually just start small. Just try and do one, possibly two things. Maybe, try doing some social media posts. Look at what your skill set is. Just try one or two social media posts, see how it goes. But like all these things, marketing is about repetition. You've got to keep doing that. But I would look at your skill set. And some people, so I've got another client who would love to do presentations, but just the concept just terrifies her. So she's now started writing blogs. Of all the things that she wanted to do in a presentation and on a webinar, she now does it in blogs. She posts it on the social media. So you've got a lot of information and advice that you can give. Just think about what's comfortable to you in how you communicate that advice. And that might be writing something down, it might be doing newsletters, it might be doing podcasts and webinars. Each of us, are very different. And I know some people have actually said, do you know what, I prefer doing a recorded webinar on my own, and it might just be a little 5-10 minute sort of skit on something, because I can just re-record it if I need to. Whereas actually coming into this environment, yes, I think for at least three of us, it scares the pants out of you now and again. So just do things little and often, but it is the often that is the key to marketing. You've got to keep nibbling away. As Mark said with the networking, don't expect to go to a social online networking platform or a face-to-face one and think you're going to walk away with clients. You won't. It takes time. You've got to actually build up that relationship and that rapport with people. And so you've just got to keep chipping away with just different forms of communication to get that message across.
Great stuff. Claire, what can you add to that? What are your coping strategies? Come on.
I think my main one is just kind of what we've said, is that marketing takes time. I think if anyone tells you that you can win clients quickly, they're either lying to you or they're missing out a large part of the journey. Because I can tell you of times that I've gone on Facebook and I've done one post and I've had 10 inquiries within an hour from it, and that sounds like a really fantastic story, and everyone will rush off to Facebook to have the same thing. But what I'm missing out is the year that I spent finding that Facebook group and building up that community within there. So that would be sort of my top tip, is don't put pressure on yourself. Just have a go at different things. Just join different communities online, whether that's paid for groups, free groups, LinkedIn, that kind of stuff. And just, I think, like, build an audience. So not in becoming an influencer or a massive, email list or something like that, but just find your group of people, because the good thing about using online is that you can talk to absolutely everyone. It's like me standing here with my microphone just shouting that I do tax returns and everyone here can hear me. But the problem is that there's loads of accountants in this room as well, loads of bookkeepers, and what you want to do is just try and make that room as small as you possibly can, and make a room that you feel comfortable being in, which is really boring. And I know it touches upon niching, which people don't sort of always like, and ideal clients. So it doesn't need to be that your ideal client is Nicola, who works at home with a dog and likes walking on weekends. When people can go to the ideal client that's really, really small, it could just be people who work from home or freelancers. And yeah, just take the pressure off yourself, join communities, see if they tire you out, see if you like the people. As I said with LinkedIn, thumbs up, walk away, and just create that small group of people. And then once you've got them, it's a lot easier to sell to them then.
Great stuff. Mark, any pearls of wisdom on top of what Claire and Vicki have already said?
Yeah, something that just came to mind was that introverts often hold back more of themselves because they're feeling introverted. And what all of us tend to forget is ultimately we want clients to buy into us. So I think Claire's already said this, you've got to get over yourself and be prepared to confirm that other people think that you're great. You don't have to say how wonderful you are, but learn to tell stories about how your clients have felt as a result of working with you, why they continue working with you. So you're promoting or marketing yourself without telling everybody that you're great, and you're hopefully getting over that reluctance you have to say it. But ultimately, if you want to win decent clients, you've got to give them the confidence that you're somebody that they should appoint. And picking up on Philippa's point, the more you can share of yourself and be open and honest about who you are, and attract more people like you. And I know there's at least 2 or 3 of Philippa's clients in the audience who've clearly really embraced that. And first of all, you could, when you know who they are, you can tell that they've had the benefit of Philippa's wisdom, but also you can see they've almost relaxed into their marketing because they're being true to themselves and they're not trying to be somebody different who they thought they needed to be.
I'm going to pay you later, Mark. Thank you very much. Vicki, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, quick question to everybody. Raise your hand if you like talking about yourself or writing about yourself. Anybody really confident to do that? You're happy to do that? And that gentleman is, yeah? Most of us find that struggle. I find it a struggle. There was quite a famous email I sent to Philippa when we were preparing for this, where I told her in no uncertain terms that I didn't like talking about myself in the email. And I think with things like that, certainly for your website, for LinkedIn profiles, where you actually need to explain who you are, what you do, how you help people, look to get somebody else to write it. Because it's not intended to be a sales pitch, but quite often when I do stuff like that for clients, I say, you've written exactly what I wanted to say, but I didn't know where to start. So I think just use those as another sort of tool, get somebody else to write it for you. Obviously, you're going to review it, you're going to have the final say so. But the hardest part is when you're faced with a blank sheet of paper or a blank screen and you've got to say, hello, my name's, I don't know what my name is, what do I do? It's horrendous. So just think about how other people can help you get that message across, which is still unique to you, but it just takes that hard work out of you having to do it yourself.
Thanks, Vicki. I was really, when Claire said, it actually takes time. It really does. And that's why you need to be consistent with your marketing as well. And you need to start, you need to have a story, and you need to keep telling that. I've got a little story myself before we go on to our final sort of closing things. I had a chat with somebody I know earlier on last week to sort of find out about the mindset of an accountant or a bookkeeper going into marketing. And this person has really got into marketing recently because she lost quite a large client. And suddenly it was, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I've lost this client. And, you know, these things happen, but the marketing hadn't necessarily been that consistent over time. And so now she had to kick in and really sort that out. And actually, she did a fantastic job. And I think what she did is really some great advice here. So number one, she set up some non-negotiables. So 3 times a week, she decided that she was going to write 3 posts on LinkedIn. And she was also going to comment on other people's posts as well, so to start to develop a relationship. She actually joined a Facebook group and started to chat online there with relevant people to offer her services, but just chat and build relationships. She asked clients and friends to share her posts, which again is really simple stuff. But she also said something really fascinating, which is she stopped emailing people, but she started to pick up the phone or even do Zoom, because certainly if you're doing calls like that and talking about business, you want to build that relationship. And let's not forget that relationships are marketing. That's it, really. And the final thing that she said was, I'm not looking for stuff, but I'm not going to say no. So actually, she's coming on the podcast with Mark and myself in the next few weeks, because we asked her. Normally, she would have said no, and now she's saying yes. But it's little steps, taking control, and she's actually doubled the number of followers on LinkedIn in the last 4 months. So that's really terrific news and good evidence that you can actually do it from quite a low base. What she did say, however, was that she doesn't really know what's different about her. And so I would stress strongly that if you don't know what's different about you and how you serve your clients, how are they going to know? So do make sure that you're really, really clear about the foundations and the framework. But I just thought that was a terrific story of somebody who's really taken ownership. So the final question then is, what are your golden nuggets that people in the audience should be taking away today? Mark, would you like to leave some sort of insights or some advice to close?
Yeah, I was rather hoping to be stimulated by what everybody else said in their closing comments. Yeah, so are you. So we've talked about networking. We've talked a bit about LinkedIn and social media. And about being yourself, being unique, being distinct, recognizing what makes you special and different. And it's not to say that if you are introverted, you can only win over introverted clients. But I really want to go back to what I said earlier about confidence and self-confidence, because if you take little steps and keep moving forwards, you're likely to achieve greater success than if you invest a whole load of time and effort in one go. And picking up on Philippa's point just now about scheduling your marketing, you can tell what somebody's priorities are by the entries they make in their diary or their calendar. If you're serious about making time for marketing, then you will book time with yourself to do it. If you say, well, I'll do it at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays, and then some says, oh, do you want to come out for lunch? And you look at your diary and there's nothing there, you go out for lunch, and you don't reschedule that slot, you're not serious about wanting to market your practice. You're just playing at it. So whether you're an introvert or not, if you want to market your practice more effectively, which essentially means if you want to attract more and better clients, make time to take the steps necessary to do it. You don't have to do it all in one go. The first step is, who am I? The second step is, who do I want as clients? The third step is, where could I find them online or at live events? The fourth is, who can help me reach them? And I'm doing this off the top of my head, but you get the idea. Simple steps, and schedule the time in to spend a little bit of time on each of them, and you will feel so much more confident, and the fact that you're an introvert will not hold you back.
Very wide words. Wise, that is not wide. Wise words, thank you. Vicki?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Mark said. It is sort of starting small, just build it up, take your time. Time, we've all said, it takes time. There's no silver bullet in marketing, I'm afraid. I can't say if you do X and Y, it's going to give you Z. Life just isn't like that. It's not a balance sheet at the end of the day. It's not supposed to all add up. The one thing I would also say that I found that helps other accountants is actually get a mentor or just somebody who will make you accountable. And whether that's accountable for putting time in the diary and making it happen, or whether it's just somebody that's actually you can bounce ideas off that will give you some confidence to try new things. You know, try sort of different things for your website, going to different events, but having that person to bounce off, which is difficult. You know, I'm a marketing person, but I bounce all my accounting and tax stuff off my accountant. I don't try and do it all myself. And I think we just need to play to our skill sets, be great at what you're doing, be great at your client service and your delivery, and really enhancing those client relationships. But don't be afraid to actually sort of talk to somebody who can actually really help you get to grips with your marketing and keep you focused and make it happen for you.
Great stuff. Claire, we're coming to an end, so give us your top tips.
Yes, we're running out of time. My top tip is, if you don't want to speak to people, make it really hard for people to speak to you. Removing my telephone number from my website was the best decision I made. It stopped the tire kickers, the people who just wanted quotes, salespeople from contacting me. I used to have a discovery form as well, which people would have to answer before I responded. And if anyone wants to speak to me, they get sent my Calendly link. I will not speak to someone on the day that they contacted me, because I think if they get used to getting access to me too quickly, what if I have a day where I don't want to speak to anyone? So it means I can book things in. And the same with, like, on your website, think of all the questions that people tend to ask you. I've got prices on my website, which I know a lot of people hate, so it depends on your firm. I talk about how I work with people, I talk about my niche, I've got blogs for commonly asked questions. So it's like, how many questions can I answer and how long can I make you wait before you need to speak to me? So that's my top tip.
Right. Brilliant, thank you. So I hope you found that very useful. I mean, my top tip would be, if you don't know yourself, how are you going to know your end client? So do the work, and there's actually a QR code here which will help you to do that. It's a free ebook, and it will help you to start thinking about you and your business, your ideal client, and what motivates you. Because fundamentally, that's what you need to know in order to be able to go forward. And then sort out your non-negotiables. Do what the friend of mine said. She set out her non-negotiables. Plan those out day one, week one, month one, and then on. What are those small things that you're going to do that's really going to help you? And get a buddy. I know bookkeepers are really, really good at getting together and supporting each other, but get yourself a buddy and an accountability partner who's going to go through your posts or go through all of the trauma of your networking, and just have somebody there to really empower you. So I think at this point we've got a few questions. We've got time for a few questions. Does anybody have the burning desire to put their hand up as an introvert and ask a question?
Hi, good afternoon to everybody. We always the word introvert. So the question to all of you is that we have to put some contents on LinkedIn, Facebook. So what type of contents we can put? Like we don't know the content, so we have got some ready-made contents available and sold by the different agencies. So the question is this a good marketing techniques to attract the client? Because ultimate aim is to convert the people to the client.
you were talking about what content to put on LinkedIn and so on. To be fair, Mark's probably the main sort of LinkedIn guy, but what I've sort of seen is actually you need to have a mix. Think of LinkedIn, it is a networking environment. It's not all about hard sell, and actually it's not all about just your technical abilities. There needs to be a good mix of this is who we are, this is who we've helped, but actually get your personality across. So it's actually just having a little bit of you. You're giving a little bit of you on there in terms of, hey, we've been to Accountex. We've got some great ideas that we can come back and share with our clients, but mix that with, technical content in terms of, if you're looking for IHD planning, looking for bookkeeping stuff, this is what we can do. And there's no hard and fast rules, I don't think, but it's just trying different things, and then you'll see how much engagement you get with the different aspects, and then do more of them.
Thanks. Yeah, my concern when anybody asks that question, and it's a very common question, is it assumes that all of our connections will see everything that we post on LinkedIn, and they don't. Imagine you have a billboard outside your house and that you live at the end of a close off of a fast-moving dual carriageway, and you put up your promotional material on this billboard outside your house at the end of the close off the dual carriageway. LinkedIn is the dual carriageway. All the people you know are zooming up and down. They've got to turn off the dual carriageway, have a look at to find the fact that you've even put content there, let alone to see it. Yeah. So, assuming that we should put content on LinkedIn, or listening to the people who tell you to do that as a marketing technique, it's starting in the wrong place. Yeah. The 5 tips I always give, and stepping into your territory, think of the 5 M's with marketing. First M is, what's my motive? What is it I want to achieve? That's to attract new clients. The second M is, who's the market that I want to reach? Who are the types of people I want to get to? The third is, what's the message I want to get to that market? Then look at which media to use, which platform will help me get my message to my market to achieve my motive. And then fifth, which method should I use in order to use that media to get my message to my market to achieve my motive? The challenge a lot of people have is they start at the 4th M with the media without first of all looking at the first 3. So my advice is to go through the 5 M's rather than just listen to the bandwagon that says post a load of stuff, because it's not going to be seen by the people you want to see it.
Right. We need to get on our own dual carriageway and take off, but thank you very much, the panellists. Thank you to our audience. If you do want get the ebook, take a photo of the QR code now, and as one of us said, do a post about what you've learned today from this particular talk, what really stood out, and get that out there, because after all, that is the first part of your marketing. Hope you have a great couple of days, and hopefully bump into you around the hall. Thank you very much. Thank you.